Okay, would you say a part of anyone's success, anyone watching this, is it's just a part of life that you have to go through the lessons of losing?
You're not going to get to $1 billion unless you're willing to lose $100 million.
Why do you think some win and some lose?
One, they lose in the mind. They quit before they've even kept pushing through or decided that they're going to go on.
If there was a magic formula, how to become a millionaire,
Okay.
what would you tell anybody? Like, do these things. This plus this times that equals success. Hey guys, what's going on? Andy Elliott. Today, I got one of my boys, Ryan, with me here today. Now, Ryan's been able to do something really cool, and no one's ever done this before. This guy since 2019, right, which is 5 to 6 years, built over 100 franchises in the real estate space, which is really cool. I always say this, man, if you just watch how other people do things, your mind will start to run, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, why aren't I doing that? And this isn't about real estate. He's going to tell his story, and I'm going to talk to him about a lot of things that have allowed him to win and scale and grow. And you guys are going to get a lot of value out of this. But when he talks, I want you to think about what you're doing in life. Maybe there's another way that you could look at what you're currently doing. And you were in real estate for a long time, and you looked at it differently, and you found this new niche, right?
Yep.
And then you built this thing. You became an entrepreneur. Boom. Now you got this really cool life. Now you're coaching other people how to do what it is that you're doing, and you're doing a lot of other things, right?
That's right.
And there's like 4 big, main businesses that you're doing now, but it all started somewhere, right? And so most importantly, Ryan, tell everybody really quick, and because I want to lay it out. What are your franchises? Right? Because we're in the real estate, first class real estate. That's your franchisee company.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Tell everybody what that is, and then how you came up with the concept and the idea.
Sure. So we saw that technology needed to be provided in every office. So we set that up where they could buy it at a $50 a unit or person per month. And so they could have that and then scale nationwide through our franchise.
Okay, so is this anyone that wants to open their own franchise? Yeah. I'm sitting here, my name's Andy Elliott. I'm like, dude, I want to open my own franchise. What happens? What do I do?
Yeah, so they come in, they fill out an application. We make sure they have to have a broker, but they can run virtual in most states. So they pay us a franchise fee, then we set up the technology for them to scale, and then we have a small $150 transaction fee.
Yeah, so basically I get a business in a box, turnkey.
That's what we call it, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I'm just looking at it like I don't have to think about nothing, right?
And we have all the back end stuff. So between accounting, the onboarding, transaction coordination, any of that stuff that they want, we do all of that internally.
Yeah, so you have everything. Basically, all I have to do is get out there, get to work. You have coaching, right? I mean, you're a coach.
Yeah, we support.
Talk a little bit about that for a minute. Give us your background, because these people, this franchise deal's growing really fast.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, and it's growing really fast because everybody right now wants to own their own business. I mean, they do. I mean, listen, working for someone else is cool. And if you work for someone else and and it's a really cool thing and there's an awesome mission and, it's cool to be a part of something like that. But a lot of people just have jobs.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I don't want to work at a job my whole life. Like, I want to do my own thing one day. In real estate, if you were to Google, on Google, what creates more millionaires than anybody else, and then anything else, it'd be like financial space or real estate, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so if I was like, I want to be a millionaire, it would say, go into the financial service space, maybe insurance, something like that, or get into real estate. And then I'm like, bam. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Andy. A lot of you leave comments telling me that you need help. Do me a favor. I'm going to tell you the best way to get a hold of me. Shoot me a text message right now, 918-210-0254. 918-210-0254. I'll help you with whatever you need. I got your back for life. Let's get back to the video.
The beauty of this is they can set it up and they're helping people, because what we really push, and you'll notice we have a brand that's called Buy Income. We want people to buy real estate. If they had bought real estate 5 years ago, they'd have made more money than they usually did working.
Facts.
If they bought real estate, you can go buy a property and have $5,000 a month of income coming in, right? So it's just the idea that this is really set up for people to help understand that. They're gonna go in it because they're gonna buy it anyway. We set up wholesaling inside of it. We set up hard money lending inside of it. We have the title companies inside of it. So people own the business, and then we have all these verticals set up where they can really scale and grow their business too.
Okay. All right. So number one, I want to geek out in a little bit on everything that you're doing right now, and it's really cool. But Ryan, you didn't always exist. This life, this status, you winning like this, that didn't always exist.
No.
Right? Because there's always a story. And I think that a lot of people that are watching this, a lot of people feel like they can't come back from certain things. I know you've had some losses. I know you've had some wins. You got a family, you got your son here, your wife's over here. I know there's some things that you really value right now in life, but you're older.
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure that there was times where you didn't understand that those things were really valuable.
We were losing $50,000 a month getting this thing going. So, I mean, we really had to invest a lot and had to figure a lot of stuff out. We learned about business. We learned about what we had to do to kind of push and get through that. And so we really understand it. And that's why we made it skinny so that people could stay in the profit, because being in the profit is huge for building a business. People think they're going to make money down the road. We track how much money we're making every day. We track that to a T. And that's really the focus in growing a business. And we really advocate for them to do the same.
Okay, so I want everybody to understand this. There's something called risk inversion. It's in the beginning of a business when the risk is at its highest.
Right.
Usually you're losing a lot of money. And a lot of people don't keep a business open for very long because they can only afford to lose money for so long.
That's right.
And by the way, they're like, oh man, I saved up this money. I'm ready to start my business. And then all the money you saved, you're losing it.
That's right.
And you're like, wait a minute, it's not supposed to happen this way. Well, that is actually the way that it happens. That's why if you buy a franchise, right, you become a franchisee, that's where you can build it because you've already modeled it. And so when somebody comes in, if I'm a number, let's say you got 100 of these out and I'm number 101, well, I just model what the top ones that you have are doing and I just run that play, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why this is so successful. Real quick, if somebody is interested in this, before I get into your story, do they go follow you on Instagram and DM you and message you?
Real Estate Ryan. If they follow me on there, we have all the information of everything that we offer there. But you also can go to firstclassrealestate.com and then we have a website.
Okay, firstclassrealestate.com.
That's right.
And then we'll make sure you put your Instagram handle here. You guys go DM them. Right. So if you're interested in this, I'm just telling you, this is a business in a box. It's bulletproof. And if you're willing to just do the work, like this works. Let's go back to this. How old are you right now?
44.
Okay, same exact age, 44 years old. Let's go back. 60-second conversation. How were you raised? What was it like from 0 to 18?
You know, I really don't even put this out publicly, but my mom came up and had some substance abuse issues. And I happened to come to faith at a young age, but I ended up kind of falling away as I got a little bit older. But I think that was really a crux for where I'm at today. But yeah, so came up in apartments. I grew up in apartments and that was, it was interesting.
Okay. Well, I always say this, and by the way, this is important. I think, sometimes you know who you want to be in life, right? And sometimes you know who you don't want to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So as you're growing in life, maybe somebody doesn't know that they want, I don't know I want to be a real estate person, but I may know I don't want to be like my mom.
Right.
Or I don't want to be like this guy. And so that's help guides me. Growing up, did you know who you wanted to be, or?
I seem to always be in sales and business. I don't know how. I mean, I sold bubble gum when I was in school. I ended up becoming a plumber at one point before this. Yeah. I ended up quit plumbing full time and then jumped straight into real estate. And so, I just ended up having a knack for sales and understanding and business models and things like that. So,
okay. So do you think that you like sales because you like more of the commission side of things, like there's no cap, and you're really not one of these guys that wants to sit in comfort and safety? Do you feel like you've always had that itch, that edge?
Yeah,
that you want to see what's
what
possible?
I'm capable of. I mean, that's never stopped. I've always wanted to see what I'm capable of. And at one point, I even probably in the last 2 years thought I hit the pinnacle. Okay, this is where I'm at. And that really, like we were talking about before this is, my faith, I think it can go to another level. My fitness can definitely go to another level. And that's really been a focus. My family, I really have gelled and really focused on growing my family and my finances, that I really dialed in on all those. And I really just want to scale and grow and see what I'm fully capable of. Okay.
So if you notice, he just said faith, family, fitness, finances. He ran through his core values, his standards really quick, which is what he believes in. I want to say something, because anybody watching this right now, a lot of people are labeled in life. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're labeled. And you have these papers here because you said something to me. You said, I have ADD sometimes, right? Or I get distracted sometimes, or I could be thinking about business, but then I'm talking about Tahiti next, right? Okay, so growing up, did you ever have anybody say you can't focus, you can't pay attention? Did you ever feel like you were different?
Well, I think ultimately what happened is you create an identity. And what happened is I had an identity shift. And some of it's delusional. I would think I was doing better than I was, and that would give me a confidence that really probably shouldn't have been there, which pushed me forward, right? I knew what I was capable of.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
It worked out to my favor in some cases, and at the same time, it was also holding me back, and I had to realize, okay, there's more to this, and I can do more. But people are always putting labels and identities, and I've shucked that stuff off. That I was like, I should be dead or in jail. That's what they'd say, and anybody that's close to me would kind of find out, okay, we know how you came up. We know what you had as a basis, and ultimately, I just decided I want to learn more. I want to do more. You know, I want to keep pushing and pushing.
Oh, let me tell you my game changer, mouth tape.
You were talking about this.
Game changer. I'm not selling nothing. I don't have anything for sale. I use a company called Hostage Tape. I can't recommend it enough. It's such a huge thing to do. It opens up your nose and you get like 10% more cardio. My jiu-jitsu changed totally.
Yeah. So, and guys, one of the reasons why, you know, I like doing these podcasts, these are important, okay? Because this is a new traditional learning. I'm not going to say it's dead, but this is the fastest way to scale and grow anyone in life.
Absolutely.
Okay. Every day I have people walk up to me and they say, hey, you know, you're a voice for like underdogs. You're a voice for like, I was bullied or nobody believed in me, or, you know, I have ADD, ADHD, bipolar, blah, 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 whatever the hell everybody said you had. I think all that's a superpower. Okay. I think that there's people that are made to just stay safe and get a job and just do life like it's good. But then there's guys like us, right? There's people, a lot of people watching this right now that don't understand, because see, you're older now, you're 44, right? Like if we would have gone back to your 20-year-old self and I could show you at 44, and I could show you that, you know, you're running this 100 franchise deal, you know, you got buying income, you got all these things going on, you know, you probably couldn't have seen that.
No.
And it's a superpower to be able to look around corners. And I think there's a lot of people that are watching this that honestly, they don't think that something like this is ever going to happen for them. And some of it is because they have low self-limiting beliefs. They have leashes, right? Like on themselves, that I'm not capable of this. Or maybe other people have put labels on them, like get a job, stay out of jail. I can't believe you're not dead. You know, like crap like that. Like, hey, I saw how you were raised. Hey, I saw what you did, right? You know, like you should be disappointed in yourself. Right? How many times you do something, you felt disappointed in yourself. So you felt ashamed in yourself. You felt, you know, embarrassed. But guess what? Like, but that didn't stop you from becoming this man. And so like, what advice would you give somebody that's watching this that like isn't where they want to be? Everything is failing. You know, maybe that everybody's telling them like they're counted out. Right. And maybe they're telling themselves they're counted out, right? Like, how do you push through and just know you're going to end up where you want to be?
You know, there's two things that come to mind, but you know, the first one, the line always stays in my head is go back to where you quit. You know, just go back to where you quit. You were on a fitness journey, you were on a faith journey, you were on a family journey or a finance journey, and it got hard. And so you quit, you know, people just quit and they go back to the same pattern and the same habit over and over again. And it's like, I have to redo that over and over. It doesn't matter if you messed up. It doesn't matter if you came off the diet. It doesn't matter if you missed the gym. Like go back to where you quit and just keep on going. And then ultimately the sky's the limit. And you know, the other thing is identify what's holding you back, you know, because it could be alcohol. It could be the people you're hanging out with. It can be all kinds of different things that are bad decisions. And these decisions, like for me, it was, you're not communicating effectively. That's costing you $1 million. You're not in fitness. That's costing you $1 million. And like those kind of things would go on in my mind. I said, I want this more than I want that. Alcohol, I haven't drank in almost 2 years now. And it was because I wanted clarity, I wanted focus, I wanted to be the person, the leader that everybody else wanted to follow after. And I had to look in the mirror and be that guy. And that's really where I've had a connection to you that you don't even know about, right? Because you identify that, you say it, and those words resonate over and over. And you got to look in the mirror and you got to decide who you want to be. And that thing, you're deciding, I'm going to keep drinking or I'm going to be this. And I said, I'm going to be this. And ultimately, it's crazy. What's happened has been like revolutionary. I have hit a growth spurt. I've gone into something new and it's bringing everyone around me with it. They're like, hey, their image looks different. They dress differently. They talk differently. They're not drinking. They're not doing drugs, whatever it is. They're just focused, laser beam focused. And that's the exciting part. Like, it's not even me, it's what's going on in all of them. And that pumps me up. And that's why, you know, I even want to do this podcast. Like, how do we get that story out? What you're doing is not just you. I know you see it probably 100 times, but you don't even realize what's going on in other people and the ripple effect that's going on, the legacy that you're building is even going on. And I go, I want to be a part of that. And I want the next person to be a part of that. You said my son's in here. My son and his son, me and my wife just celebrated 16 years of marriage. And so So we, we look at it like our kids, that's going to go on the decisions we make.
Thinking
our
long
marriage.
range.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking longer, every decision you're making has that long term.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that we don't even realize is going on in our mind that drives us to doing more because it's not even about us, but it includes us.
Yeah. And I want to recap what he said. Number one, he said, winners live where quitters quit. Mm-hmm. He said, go back to where you quit and pick up, right?
That's good.
Yeah. So winners live where quitters quit because quitters always quit early. And then if you can just stay in it for a little bit longer, you'll always get to winning.
That's right.
Right? Mm-hmm. It'll just happen. And then you said audit your circle, audit your life, audit the places you go, audit who you hang out with, audit who you're having a conversation with, audit who you have in your phone if you and your wife get in a fight, right? Right. I know like you two should work it out, but if there is a man that you was to call, like, is it a guy that's like, man, you know what, dude, you take good care of your family. I can't believe she's arguing with you. She's got a purse full of cash. She's got a beautiful house and cars, dude. She shouldn't treat you like that. Is that a buddy? Or is it
where you mess up?
Is it someone? Yeah. Or is it the guy that says, dude, listen to me. Your wife's your best friend. Okay. You guys are going to fight. A brother and a sister fights, but guess what? They don't stop being brothers and sisters. Okay. They love each other. Get your butt back home. Go show her a lot of love. Go watch a funny movie and get over this crap. Quit being a dummy. And you're like, oh, okay. So I always say like, there's things that like you can set up in your life to guarantee success. And when you make decisions long range, I was just at Garrett White's office with the Wake Up Warrior event. It's his last day today. And I was talking about building big businesses, legacy families. You got to make decisions long range. Like if I do this thing, will I respect myself more? If I do this thing in 10 years, will we look back and say that was a pivotal moment in our company and it helped us scale and grow? If I do this thing, is this good for my team? Like if you don't go to the gym, is that good for your son?
No.
If you pick up that drink, is that good for your son?
No.
Is that good for your wife? Is it good for, okay, no, don't do it. It's like, those are the decisions that companies and like legend families, they think that way. And honestly, and I want to tell anybody watching this that the way to become successful is to steal the way that people think, because you just hijack their thinking. Like honestly, like how I built my life and I really started to scale is honestly, I wasn't that smart, man. I mean, I was kind of street smart, but honestly, I was kind of stupid. Got myself in a lot of trouble because everything that I had learned was from everybody that I was around. And so I had outlearned everybody. And a lot of the stuff I learned, I needed to unlearn. You know what I'm saying? And I started watching, self-development and podcasts. And I was like, dude, like I want to think like these people. And I just started to think like they thought, like I hijacked their brain. And then my life started to operate like theirs.
Roadmap for success is out there.
Yeah, it's like model proven practices. And we live in such a cool time where, you can watch a podcast and learn about 20 years of a guy. But important, let's think real quick. I'm going to run you through some like quick questions.
All right,
okay. Because let's give them a lot of value.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Let's think about something that you did in your life, right? That like, you're like, dude, that was one of the worst things that ever happened to me. And I felt like I wasn't ever going to come back from.
As I mentioned before, setting that business up, I losing money over and over and over again.
But is this 2019?
This was it was 2019. Yeah, well, it was 2018 going into.
Okay, so we're 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
you got this idea.
Yeah.
It sounded like
all the money I had. I had no money left. And then it's only then that I decided, this actually had happened again, probably in 2008 or so, but I ran out of money and then I was forced to make decisions versus now what happens is I go, wait, I watch things quicker. I see if the meter's coming off and there's an adjustment or a pivot that's not going right. I want to fix it quickly. And in this case, I waited too long until I felt like I was almost out of resources to then make the adjustments I should have made in the beginning.
Okay, would you say a part of anyone's success, anyone watching this, is it's just a part of life that you have to go through the lessons of losing?
You have to be able to challenge yourself and change. And so, I think I heard one guy say, you're not going to get to $1 billion unless you're willing to lose $100 million. Well, you're not going to get to $100,000 unless you're willing to lose $10,000. I mean, you're going to pay for a coaching program that's 10 grand to get 100 grand. Unless you're willing to risk it, you're not going to get it. And so that principle goes on over and over. You can't open the business and spend 25 grand to open a business, then you can't get to the next level. And so you can lose over and over again. And at the same time, you have to be willing to lose it to get to the next level, to push yourself to be who you have to be to get through it.
These people that win, in the franchise game right now, currently with you, and that win in any business, why do you think some win and some lose? Like, I have an answer, but like, I want to know, like, why do you think though, like two people have the same opportunity, two people, why does one win, one loses?
I see usually in my experience is two different things. Is one, they lose in the mind. They quit before they've even kept pushing through or decided that they're going to go on. So they're like, they can't come up with, they come up with an excuse not to do it before they even try. And they talk themselves out. They don't do marketing because they think somebody's not going to like it or somebody's doing better. They don't make a decision. They don't do the work because it will end in something else. So they talk themselves out of it. Even if they were winning, they almost can talk themselves out of it because they just decide one day.
So like internal leashes.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they're telling themselves
Mental
lies
handcuffs.
that are false.
Yeah, mental handcuffs.
Do you think when a human being puts his back or her back against the wall,
You find out who you are.
but do you think that increases the success rate of the person? Because if there's any plan B, I mean, any at all, right?
They abort.
But there's just no way that you're ever really going to give your very best, right? It's funny.
They got a parachute.
Well, yeah, but like when you were losing money, a man that was inside of you, a next level business person, someone that hadn't been brought to the table yet, right, came out and things changed and shifted. But only until your back was against the wall, right? Until you were in pain, until you really felt that everybody you loved was about to get really hurt, right?
Yeah. And what is funny is I went into it with that even mindset, because we sat around the dinner table when I was talking to my daughter and my wife and my son. I said, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk this amount of money we have because I got a vision and a plan that I really think we can go after it. And if that decision happens and then months or years later, you're running out of money and you're making these other changes, and it's interesting that I think I knew I was risking it when I was having that conversation with them, but I was betting that I would figure a way out of it, even if that happened, but I didn't think that at the time.
So I see kind of the way you operate, right?
Okay.
And there's a lot of danger in like opening a business, right? But then also there's zero fulfillment in taking a salary.
Yeah. That's
right? Okay. So would you say if anybody wanted to be really successful, right, they probably would have to live in abundance. They couldn't have any scarcity, any poverty. Like, you can't believe that way. You can't think that way. You can't let that stuff flow through your brain, your veins, your brain. You can't
frequency. You can't have that frequency.
You can't have it. So what are some tricks that you do to keep yourself in abundant, whether the bank account's full or not?
I have a line, and I say this kind of over and over to other people and to myself, and I'm like, well, what's the alternative? And I know as simple as that line is, I'm like, if you don't do it, you're going to stay right here, right? Like, it's like you're going to stay in the same spot that you are. And the abundance mindset of it is going, there's more to go. We're only to right here. We can go after getting more. And the alternative is like, well, I don't want to risk that money marketing. I don't want to do it. Well, what's the alternative? We're going to stay exactly where we are. And in the abundance mindset, it's like, there's more. You can do more. Somebody else did more. There's a way to figure it out. There's so much out there. And when you realize it's like the even if it's monetary for business sense, that it's like the air. I mean, there's just so much out there, so much opportunity that we can't limit
If somebody's
ourselves.
broke, poor, they don't have anything, they're dead in on zero, how do they create abundance mindset? How does that happen? Because there are people that are going to watch you there and say, yeah, but do listen to me. You don't understand my situation. Yeah. Okay, so can we talk to those people?
But I was there. So
yeah,
that's
so
how
talk
I know.
to those people.
Yeah, I had $50 in my bank account in 2008. So I was there. I know exactly what that's like. And it's funny, I get this stuff all the time. And it's hard when you're further ahead to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, because they think you don't understand.
Yeah, but then somebody said, hey, I don't have the money to go do this. And I said, then you need to work. And so that's why I was talking about when we were talking about this earlier, is that I track how much money I bring in every day. I track how much money other people bring me in every day. I track how much money my money makes me every day. And I track how much money I make on debt every day. I'm drilled in. And so they don't have to have other people. They don't have to have other money making money. They don't have to have other debt, but then they should work. And that should make a certain amount of money every day. They say, well, I'm spending money, it's hard to get ahead, or, that I'm making more money. I'm not making as much money as I'm spending. I'm like, those are life decisions. I've been to third world countries. I've been on mission trips. They don't have the amount of money that we have. We're rich compared to them. And that seems really hard for everybody else to understand. But if you're not working, you don't have any money. The Bible is clear on that. You're not going to be able to eat if you don't work. So you've got to do work, but they've got to track it. People, we're talking about this business thing. They do business where they think, I'm going to do work and I'm going to get paid later. You're not at a place. You got to go work for somebody else. Go sell for somebody else. Go work for somebody else. Go find a millionaire. Go find a billionaire. Work for them and make them money. Well, wait, that's not going to get me where I want. No, you're going to learn a lot working for them, and you're going to be able to make some money. And then you're going to get to make decisions. Do I hire somebody? Do I have my money making me money? And can I leverage that to make debt make money? And then that's what they have to do. They have to go do the work, put in the work. They don't know what we do when we work 12, 18-hour days to go bring money in. Like, they don't understand that will usually be the problem when they don't have money to deal with, because they're not working to bring in money.
Right. So you need to work your butt off if you're broke.
Yes. And that's nobody wants to hear that. It's like, it's not sexy.
But it's just the facts. Okay. So there's a saying, it says, sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes a sacrifice.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people, and this is something that's commonly really misunderstood, that saying, they sacrifice their health. Mm-hmm. They get out of shape.
I've done that.
Okay. They sacrifice their relationship with their wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done that too.
They sacrifice a relationship with their children, and they don't understand it, because they think that the sacrifice is, I'm trying to make us successful and win.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're actually killing your family. You're killing your health. You sacrifice your relationship with God.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
they don't have time to go to church on Sunday, or.
Yeah. Well, because, sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes a sacrifice. And right. And so, I think there's a better way to do it. Okay. And I want to run mine for 30 seconds, but then I'm going to pass it to you, because I think you need to tell this story, because I know there's something that you're not telling anybody about, some sacrifices that, maybe in your family had to made to build this thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, look, if I told somebody, listen, you're going to have to live below your means right now for the next 2 years to build this. Well, what does that mean? Well, you're going to have to go sell your car.
I've done that.
Right? Like, what do you mean? We're going to have to go get rid of your house. Well, hold on, wait a minute. I want to go up in life, not down. Time out. When you go to become successful, you intentionally take 2 or 3 steps back in your life to get ready to take 20 steps forward.
Yes. Wait, can you say that again? Because I don't think they understand how important that is. That is really, really important. I understand how important that is.
Yeah.
But I don't think people will be able to skim past that.
Well, so basically in 2019, so your story in 2019, you built. In 2019, I was a W-2 employee. And from 18 to 39, I was in the automotive industry. For 20 something years, that was all I did. And I was a W-2 employee, and I made more money than anyone ever thought I would make, and I was doing better. Unfortunately, one night I came home, my wife said she's learned to live without me. She says, I'm getting comfortable, I'm out of shape. I wasn't being there with the kids, even though that I was at home, I wasn't present, my mind was still at work. And she was sick of it. And honestly, I didn't really like me. I would look in the mirror and I wasn't really seeing a man that I liked. So I didn't really love me. So I probably was giving them all a bunch of trash, you know what I'm saying, as well. And all I wanted to do was try to bring home that big check, because I thought if I just made more money, it's going to fix every problem in my life. And clearly over 20 years, it didn't. And my wife was like, something's got to change. And, whether you decide to change it on your own, or you have a family and they kind of draw some hard lines and like, hey, something needs to change, or something's going to change. We made a decision, or I made a decision first, that I was not going to make any more false promises to my family. I was actually going to make some real changes. And I got in really good shape. I started keeping my word. When the alarm went off at 5 a.m., I was up. My wife started seeing this months. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I'm not sleeping in. I'm really getting up. I'm eating clean. I'm not eating all the kids' chicken nuggets and French fries and all the crap and the pizza. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. She saw my discipline increase. I was showing her love. I would come home. I was giving her a kiss first before I kissed my kids. I was showing my kids that their mother was like everything.
Queen.
I started showing her love. I started treating her like she was my battle mate, like it was me and her against the world.
Yes, exactly.
Which I hadn't done in a long time.
either.
And I was pleasing people at work, and I wasn't trying to please my family. But then also I made a mistake, because I almost stopped working.
I did.
Yeah.
I did stop working.
Yeah.
Doing.
No, it's because I thought that she would see that, like, I don't care about that no more. And then she turned it on me real quick, and she was like, I don't like that guy either.
Yeah,
she's
my
like,
wife said the
she's
same
like,
thing.
she goes, I didn't marry a loser.
Yes.
I wanted you to win in business as a winner, make a lot of money. Also be a good husband, be a good father, be in shape, stay close to God, look in the mirror, be proud of you. And I'm like, damn, man, what does this girl want? here's the deal. She actually saw someone in me that no one else saw in me. And I'm going to tell you this, if you ever have somebody that tells you something like you're made for more, be careful not to shut them out and kick them out. Because most people, if somebody was to say that to them, they would be like, bro, like, why are you pushing me? Why are you doing this? Everybody wants to be great. And if you have one person that believes in you, that you can become that, and they tell you, you need to stop and be like, oh my God, thank you, God, for bringing me this person. And that person was my wife. But I'm going to tell you what happened. And I said, sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes a sacrifice. When I started keeping my word, when I showed my wife that I could truly change after she'd known me for 15 years, and I showed her a change that she never thought probably could happen, or maybe she did, and I didn't think it could happen, whatever it was, and I took my family with me. She supported me on a way that I never thought was possible. As a matter of fact, my wife had a beautiful home. We had about $1 million house. This is in Oklahoma, which in Oklahoma, $1 million is a really nice house. She said, we're selling the house. So I want you to understand the sacrifice for what you want, or what you want becomes a sacrifice. She says, we're selling the house. We're going to go get a rent house. We're going to sell all the furniture. We both had nice cars. She's like, we're going to sell the cars. I ended up getting a $1,300 car. She got a $2,500
What year
car.
was this?
This is in 2019.
Wow.
Listen, see,
a lot changed fast.
But see, that's the deal. Like, people though, when they meet you now, they're like, bro, you inspire me.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to make sure though, you understand that the sacrifice wasn't giving up on my health. It wasn't giving up on my family. Actually, it was diving deeper into the things that made me fulfilled as a man. And that brought out a new player in me. And we gave up we sold our cars, we sold our house, we sold everything. And for 2 years, we recreated and reinvented ourselves. I always say this, if you want to change your life, you have to change who you are, because who you are right now, you're getting because of who you are, what you're attracting. Yes. And so if you want to attract something else, you got to become someone else. And that is so hard, because you have to look in the mirror and own all your crap, and you physically have to change. You can't change for me. I have to change me. But when I did, my wife, she supported me. We both took 3 steps back. We got rid of everything that meant nothing to us. And people say, well, what do you mean? How could that mean nothing to you? That's your kid's house. Your kids had a pool. We sold all their toys. We sold everything. We took our kids with us. My wife, I remember telling them whenever we sold the house, she was like, hey, you guys, you know how mom don't let you jump on the bed, right?
Yeah.
We're going to let you jump on the bed now, have fun. We had mattresses on the floor.
Really?
But my point is it was like we gave up everything. But our family came together, we got close. And then within 2 years, I was built, my wife was built, my kids saw their entrepreneur parents. We shot social media content the whole time. And behind the scenes, the whole Elliott army was built. And so just like this was built, like you guys had to sacrifice some stuff, but you talked about your wife, like how she's super important to you and all these things. So it's like, sacrifice for what you want. You didn't sacrifice your family when you built this. It sounds like you got closer to your family.
Your brain is the most powerful weapon in the world.
He was so successful, it's taken off so much. He's one of the fastest growing sales training organizations in the country.
When it comes down to sales.
Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott. Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott.
Human beings want to show you the best side, and they want to hide the worst side. For me, I'm going to teach you how to be vulnerable.
Who's going to carry the votes in the laws?
My name is David Goggins.
How'd you become that guy?
Described as one of the toughest men on the planet.
This is absolute savage.
The only man in history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL Ranger
And the Air Force Tactical Air Controller trainer.
Also an ultra-marathon runner with more than 60 races under his belt.
I was running this 24-hour race as a relay team. He had no teammates.
When you can be so disciplined that you'll do things that you don't want to do, you immediately go to a new level.
Well, I've always had that deep-rooted thing that if you have success in business and you lose your family, then it's not really a success, right? And if if you have your family, you don't go drive the business going up. That's part of what I had to adjust. I literally went through the same thing, that change.
Yeah, so share that. Share the story. Tell everybody the story.
It's been a crazy story of what's going on, but ultimately, just to give it as a snapshot, as we lived in Virginia, we lived in a massive, amazing house, paid for. We had everything exactly how it would be, but
you were super comfortable.
Yeah, we were really comfortable, and then I just said, this is boring. This isn't it. This isn't what I want, and I want more. And my health wasn't good. Like all of these things were not good. And I said, all right, fine. I just decided, and I quit. I was up at 4:30 in the morning. We were doing cold plunges. We started going to the gym together.
Real quick, because I want you to answer this. When you said my health wasn't good.
Yeah.
Okay, so at what point do you become self-aware? Because you obviously weren't aware to a certain point, right? Or you just tolerated it. What was the I know there had to have been a day.
Yeah,
there had to have been something.
I read a book by Craig Groeschel, right?
Okay.
So I decided I wasn't going to drink just because I felt like it was making me feel sluggish the next day. So that was the beginning of it. Then I ended up with this book, Craig Groeschel, called The Power of Change. And I read that book, and it said that's based on your identity. And so then I spent the next months thinking through, who am I? Why do I believe this way? Why am I operating this way? And then I just said, you either quit drinking because you're taking a break, or you quit drinking because you identify as someone who doesn't drink anymore. And that set a ripple effect, the spiral that went on and all this other stuff that went on for health. And then my wife had been already telling me all of this stuff the whole time. So I already had it in the back of my mind. I just was shooing it away. And then so I started implementing, and all of those things as we implemented, I just went all in. I did oxygen chambers. I did the cold plunges. I've done all kinds of things, and it rejuvenated me, and it led us to a point.
But did everybody think you were crazy?
I almost isolated from everybody. I took a step back because they were going out drinking, and so I wasn't in that pattern anymore. So everything just changed.
Question: when you started buying all these things, cold plunges, oxygen chambers, all these things, right? Everybody, they're thinking that you lost your mind.
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm assuming, but they don't now, because now I'm driving in a Rolls. I'm living in Florida,
but that's a part of the thing, though, right?
Yes.
Because you would agree that any sick person that's successful, if you crack them open, they are crazy.
Yeah,
right?
You got to be insane.
So if you'll notice, you've been crazy your whole life, but not until you became the most successful.
Wasn't the other stuff crazy? Wasn't the pattern we were on of the way the world was operating? Wasn't that the crazy part? Because it was holding us back from what we could have
that's
been.
normal.
No, that's the problem.
Right. See, okay, so what we just identified is that drinking is normal.
Yeah.
And using cold plunges and oxygen chambers and going to the gym is weird.
Yes. Yeah.
And only the weird people get remembered, and they don't make statues of normal people.
Right. But I wasn't even doing it for anybody else. I was doing it for me. I
No,
wanted to be
you
optimal.
wanted to like you.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to see what I was fully capable of again, because I was good enough. I had done good enough. I could compare myself to somebody and feel like it was good enough, but I was like, but I'm not good enough to where I want to be. And that's what I almost want to inspire in anybody else. Is like, are you good enough to what you can be? And ultimately, we all have gifts and talents, and we're capable of way more than we think we are if we just stop with all the insanity of the other stuff and just really laser beam focused.
How important do you think the role of you getting healthy is to the build of this business?
I think it's huge. It was
like, had you not gotten healthy, would this business have grown?
This business has only parts and parcel to what happened with being healthy, and so ultimately I have people. My daughter works in my company, another girl named Faith works in my company, and Alexis work in my company, and they've helped create the vision of all these other pieces that went on. This business became the springboard to all these other companies because I was able to think clearly through all. One company has line items of revenue that comes in, right? But when you move that company to becoming a line item, then ultimately I can add 5 line items of this company. So now I have 5 national companies, not one, because the brain power is up here.
Would you have built any of this though, had you not gotten healthy?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
so for anybody watching this right now, if somebody's like, I'm sick of the health crap. Okay, teach me the business. Listen, I'm just gonna give you an example. What would you say to this guy? Look, dude, listen, save all the fitness crap. Okay, listen, I'll let you coach me. but I'm not going to listen to the fitness crap. Okay. I want you to teach me the business. I want to know how you built it. I want to know the infrastructure. I want to understand it, but I don't want to hear about this fitness crap.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's probably going to cost me money to tell you this, but I'd probably tell you, never mind. I don't want to work with you.
Okay. So why would you feel that strongly about it? Because I know.
Because it's going to sabotage on the back end. Every bit of work I'm going to put in, I don't want to waste time. That year I spent sitting on the couch figuring, I said, who do I want to invest in? Where do I want to spend my time and energy? I'm inaccessible to a lot of people because I won't give them time and energy because I know that to go to where I need to go, I can't waste time or energy or money on things that are not going to be.
So if there was a magic formula, right? You know, like 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Well, there's non-negotiables.
Yeah, but like if there was a magic formula, how to become a millionaire,
okay,
what would you tell anybody? Like, do these things. This plus this times that equals success.
Okay. So, I mean, ultimately, they're going to have to get rid of a lot of things that are wasting. And so when they realize in their time of day, they have 168 hours every week. I mean, you can break that down to a formula of what they need to do to make that. And so
time management is going to be a big part of that.
It's going to be a huge factor. And then their clarity in their mind to see what they're doing is wrong, which means I can tell you, and I've talked to other people about this. We were talking about not drinking. I said, I need you to track how much money you're making every day. And they realized they go through a day and didn't bring in any money. But see, he stopped drinking, which allowed him to go into that level of saying, okay, I'm seeing that I'm wasting time on things. Now he could go to somewhere else. But I think the precursor was he was all in. Once you're willing to give up the thing that doesn't really matter, maybe because you can still be a millionaire and drink. I mean, I understand that part of it. Yeah. But if you're not, to try and get there, it's holding you back in that brain power. So I think it's a huge part of the equation. But it can be drugs. It can be, there's all kinds of things that are distractions.
So kill off anything that's a distraction.
Distractions are killing you.
Yeah.
The things, people are busy doing stuff during the day that's a distraction, and it could have nothing to do with alcohol or otherwise. Their business.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah, they're spending time scrolling it instead of producing it, right? Or whatever that's going to be. Then they're doing non-dollar productive activities, but everybody understands that. But they think, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to come later. You need to do this and that. You need to do the thing that brings in money today and the thing that's going to bring it in later.
Do you think at night, before the next day comes, do you think that you should write down, what you're going to, I'm going to get, tomorrow I'm going to get these 6 things done. I know 911s exist. I know there's going to be interruptions.
Margin, you need margin for that.
Right. I know this stuff is going to exist because it happens to every human. But these 6 things I'm going to do. And then would you say that you said non-income producing activities have to disappear or be put on the backside, but important things and income producing activities, I think.
And then higher producing activities, right? So if something makes you $1 and you can do something else, they make $5, they need to be finding those. You have to track it to figure out today, these are the 6 things I'm going to do. Tomorrow, 3 of those things actually aren't good because I need to fill 3 other things in. And you have to have clarity to figure that out. You have to have data to figure that out.
Well, so without data, you're screwed. And you're saying, if people are like, dude, hey, because what do you think about this? And I want to ask you because you're going how to become successful, which is to me, a lot of people don't understand money, right? Okay. So your wife is like, hey, mow the yard.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't have grass in Arizona, but I did in Oklahoma. So let's say she's like, mow the yard. You can pay someone to mow the yard $50 an hour.
Okay.
Right? But then she says, or even you're thinking, hey man, I'm not too good to mow my own yard.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about that? How much money can you make an hour? If it's $10,000 an hour, just hypothetically, but you can pay someone $50 to mow your yard, even though that you could do it, right? Should you do it if you can get paid 10 grand an hour versus doing something that you could pay someone $50 to do to mow your yard?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, this analogy kind of comes up a lot. So one, I don't cut the grass because of that time, but I ultimately go almost crazy, the non-normal, the other way. I won't do it if it doesn't drive in revenue, because if I can spend this amount of time driving in revenue, 12 hours in a day driving in revenue, then there's all kinds of things that I can't do, whether that's cut the grass, do the dishes, whatever. So we delegate laundry, we delegate all of those things so that we can both thrive and then have the quality time.
Meal prep, laundry, cleaning the house.
And if you can think through it, you can have someone else do it. Everything in business is detailing and giving them tasks and having them do it in an efficient way. You can do it at home. You can do it at work. You just have
to make more money.
Yeah. Well, you would. Yeah. If you're going and driving that. Yes.
Which, as long as you're not lazy and you're actually working during that time, then
Well, and you need to be reading. You got to get up early. You should be reading. You should be, they're obviously doing this podcast, so they're watching this, like growing and learning, and then they have to believe it, right? Because I know somebody's watching this going, yeah, but I don't have the money to do it, so I'm cutting the grass. But if you keep doing cutting the grass, if you will, then you're never going to have the time there because they're not getting up earlier because they stayed up last night drinking and then they slept in today and then they didn't read. They didn't spend time thinking of what they could do different. They didn't track their numbers and now they're cutting the grass and they're on this cycle and they're over it. And it's only once they're over it that they're going to be ready to go, all right, forget this. There's got to be more. And I hope that they take that away that, I mean, two guys like us can go and grow it and scale it and get rid of those things that don't matter.
I love it. There's this, I was talking about a math equation, right? You know, like how to become a millionaire. And, you know, I've always taught one thing, performance, right? Which means like you have to work hard. If you don't work hard, like you're never going to make it, right? And you've said this since we started, you have to work hard. So to me, I can envision your formula being performance, which means you got to work hard, plus knowledge, which means you need to learn an industry. Right? If you're going to do real estate, don't ever let anybody else know your business better than you. Learn everything about real estate. Learn everything about.
You have to stay ahead. You have to stay ahead.
Boom. Okay. So you study the niche you're in, you work hard. So performance plus knowledge. And then I think minus, you have to subtract your leashes. Because if you're a 10 in real estate, but you're a 9 in leashes, which means you have all these low self-limiting beliefs running, you're still a 1.
Those limiting beliefs are killers.
Yes.
That's
so
what
they
we're usually
subtract
fighting.
though.
That's
Yes.
all we're ever fighting because they were always capable.
So,
it's just they didn't believe
it. Share a couple limiting beliefs that you've had during your life growing up that you've had to overcome.
You know, one of the ones that's most recent, I mean, this is just the one that I even came in thinking of today, is that I thought I didn't want to have any debt. So I wanted no debt at all because I never wanted to come back on me and things could go wrong. And so the limiting belief with me is that debt was bad. And what I was missing, and I knew this, I knew it, but inside of me, that debt is bad thing drove me so much that I was like, wait, but if I went and got debt and then it's being paid off or makes cash flow, I can only, all right, how do I explain this? If I have $100 million and it makes 12% a year, it makes $1 million. Well, if I can borrow $100 million at 6%, then I make $500,000. Now, I just want to go borrow $100 million. I know that's a big number. It's just a number that happens to be in my mind.
Simple math.
So I can't get $500,000 because I don't have debt. That was a limiting belief. I was missing out on making money because of debt, and I was just trying to grind through it over and over and over again instead of going, no, I need to be wise. I need to know the numbers. I need to get debt at the right rate, and I need to buy the right things with that debt.
Good debt versus bad debt.
Yeah.
Which
I knew, and I still was messing it up.
Okay. Name a couple others. I want you to dig deep.
Yeah.
It could be from now to your childhood.
Yeah. So I had a bad back. I can't get physically in shape because my back is bad. And it was bad because I was eating poorly. The breads and the things like that were making me so I don't have a bad back anymore. I go to the gym. You saw me at the gym today.
Yeah, but isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. I kept believing it until I decided to go do this. I don't have time to work on my health. I didn't have time to work on my health. And I was like, man, it was crap. I mean, I did. I had plenty of time. If it was important to me, I had time because I'd have time to sit there and watch the football game all day on Sunday, but I didn't have time to do the other stuff that was there.
That's so good.
I wasn't good with money. I would go and I would tell my wife, I'm just being vulnerable. I'd tell her, she'd say, hey, I want some new patio furniture in the back, right? And at one point in time, she was the money maker, big money maker compared to, I was very similar in the side of things we just talked about. But, and she'd say, hey, I want this back patio furniture. And I would go and gamble and play poker with the guys and spend the same amount of money that it was with the thing that I told her I didn't have the money for in the other thing. And she would call me out on it and I'd make some excuse.
That'll get you in trouble.
But see, she already knew. But it was all of these kind of things that were crap that everybody already knows. And when you get real with it, then they have a whole new respect for you and it actually holds you back because everyone else knows your crap.
When you did those things, did you feel like, like everybody's against me?
What changing?
No, like if you would go gamble and then, she would ask to spend that on fat.
Oh no, I'd make an excuse of like, this makes me happy. I work hard all day and I want to go have a mental break or whatever it was. It was just weakness. It was literally just weakness.
Would you say that the people that you were surrounding yourself with at that time also were people that probably didn't value their family?
Yeah, because if you sat around there, and she brought this up, like she doesn't eat buffets, and I'd say, why? I mean, I ate buffets all the time before we met or whatever. She's like, because if you go there, it's not usually the physically fit people that are healthy that are there, and I value fitness, and so whenever you're going, whoever you're hanging around, and I'm excited to go to your event tomorrow because I know what I'm going to see there. It's going to be people that are clean cut, they're dressed professionally, they're in good shape, they care about their business, they want their sales, and I'm like, I align with that, and I want to be a part of that equation. So
yeah, it's huge. I love it. Okay, let's finish with a couple things.
Okay,
tell us about who is Ryan today? What businesses do you have? What does your life look like now? Give us the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got it to the point now where on social media, like I'm in it, but most of the time somebody is on the backside of running it.
You're creating it.
Yeah, so I do content creation or different things like that. I'm growing out there and doing value. I get up in the morning, I figure out where's this, what do these numbers look like, what are these metrics, where's the industry going, where are we missing an opportunity?
Is this in real estate?
It's in all of them. So remember, it's like this is a lane, right? So if you look, I have a holding company, this is a company. Then you have a mortgage company, a title company, a hard money company. We have a wholesaling. So everything is vertically integrated to this industry.
If somebody wanted to get help from you,
okay,
in your language, you would say, anybody who needs help, this is what I can help you with. That way people could understand. Like if they wanted to use your services.
Okay, so if it really would depend. If they want to open a brokerage, we have that opportunity.
Okay,
so
open a brokerage.
They can open a brokerage.
Got it.
They want to be a real estate agent. They can join on with our company and be a real estate agent. I actually even changed it up. I set up a coaching program. So I have a real estate and a finance coaching program. It's called the Money Game because once I learned this stuff about money, I realized every business is money. So I could help them with that when it's like, all right, you can sell this business to get this amount of money, or you can keep it and it makes this cash flow. You're not stuck. Now what's next? You either scale it up or diversify into more business. Anyway, so we've got coaching programs to help anybody, business, finance. They can reach out for that. Then we have the title company. We're disrupting with that. We're joint venturing.
What does that mean?
The title company, so they're already doing real estate, whether they're a real estate agent or a broker owner. They do real estate. We set it up where we can sell off shares. We can run all the back end and operation. The same we did with the real estate company, we did with the title company. We said, we'll run the back end. You can be an owner in it. And then everybody collectively puts it together and then shares in the profit. And so it's another cash flow for them. And a lot of it's somewhat passive. So it's low barrier of entry.
Okay.
So
so title company.
Yep. Title company, the coaching company, and then wholesaling.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Tell me about wholesaling.
Yeah. And so, it's funny. The reason I'm even sitting here with you is because of Eric Klein. I mean, I know you love that guy. I mean, that guy is amazing. But so, he teaches a lot of this stuff, but in the wholesaling side of it, I see where the market's going. And I realize that wholesaling is a part of this because if rates or rates were to go up or if values are to go down, wholesaling is going to make it where it's less risky for people that are doing that. And at the same time, people have more equity in their homes than they've ever had before.
Facts.
And they don't have the money to fix it. And so they need the cash that's coming out of it. And so if you don't have the cash, we have a hard money company. So, we're looking at if we can roll $5 million a month in hard money, we can help them fund the houses so they can take them down, or they can end up wholesaling it. But we can help them generate the business, and then we can help them finance it. We can help them with the construction. So I've done all this. That's why they call me Real Estate Ryan. I've done this in every capacity because part of my ADD that I was talking about earlier is that I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And then I said, okay, I've done that. I've done commercial, I've done rentals, I've done Airbnb. I enjoy it. And now I help other people do it as well.
I love it.
So yeah.
How many kids do you have?
We have two. We have a 23-year-old daughter, Shayla, and she works at the company. And then we have our 14-year-old son, Kyle.
Okay. So let's end this out with let's say you had a video.
Okay.
Right? Like you knew you were terminally ill.
Okay.
I just want you to really think about this.
Okay.
And like you're going to die. And so you want to make a video to your family, right?
Okay.
And you want to really leave them with like a message, right? Something that's, important to you. And nobody would get to see it obviously until after you're gone. But you're making it. What would you make sure that they heard or that they knew?
I think I would want them to make sure that they stayed in church, they stayed in their faith, they stayed close to God, and that they knew that he would give them the access to their purpose, and that if they did their purpose, whatever that is, that would be what was valuable to me. They don't need to run the companies. If they choose to run that legacy, great. If they want to do something more charitable and they want to focus on that, then I would be all for it. But ultimately, staying close to their faith and staying close to God would be so vital to their minds being able to open up to whatever their purpose was, that would be so important to me, because I just don't want their lives to be wasted.
Okay. I love it, man.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
That's super important. Yeah. So basically, as we end this out, you'll notice a lot of people, they come back to God. You know what I'm saying? And God opens doors that humans can't close. And he opens doors that, humans can't even open. This isn't supposed to happen. These other things aren't supposed to happen. But you became a leader. You changed your life. I always tell people leadership, it starts with self-leadership. You led yourself first, and then others wanted to be led by you. And now you're building leaders.
That's the goal.
It's pretty cool, right?
It's interesting.
Yeah, but you started with yourself though. And had you not done that, you couldn't have led anyone else. No one else would have wanted to be you. Coaching wouldn't exist. These companies wouldn't exist. Your confidence wouldn't be there. None of that stuff would happen. And so those are things that God provided. And I think that, you were saying as you come up, people have shame, they have guilt. They're like, oh man, like the devil wants you to believe that you can never come back from this. Right?
Yeah, they're lies. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
The father of lies.
Yes.
And so you would make sure that your family stayed in church so that they would understand the truth.
The truth. That's right.
That's huge, guys. So a lot of people would miss that because they'll think, oh, they need to stay in religion. No, they don't. They need to stay in a relationship with God.
That's right.
That's huge. So man, super proud of you guys. Make sure you can go to Ryan's Instagram right now. You can watch a lot of his content. You can go to your website.
Yep. First Class Real Estate. We've got Real Estate Ryan on Instagram. So on Facebook, they can go on there too. I do a lot of stuff on there as well. Yeah,
and I think for a lot of people, I like to consume a lot of short form content. It helps me learn people really fast.
Sure.
And then I find my people. And I always say you're one coach away from changing your whole life.
You got to stop watching all those videos of mine too. I mean, every time you keep liking it, it's blowing up my stuff. I mean, don't you have other things you?
Yeah, I'm trying to blow you up because we need more leaders. And then, but I mean this when I say this. You get on there, you chew up 20 minutes of videos, and you're like, man, dude, like I align with this guy. Like I see myself in this guy. Know this. He has a coaching program. You can reach out. Happy to help you with that. Message him on, Instagram. Super important. This is something that a lot of people are like, man, opening a franchise, real estate, this, that. Dude, it's a proven practice. People do it. You can change your life at any minute. And so I always say, like, you're one person away from changing your whole life. Maybe this is your guy right here, and you plug in and listening to his story, how his life has changed so much. It's been a journey, your whole life. But really, when you started taking care of yourself with your fitness, getting your mind right, dude, it's crazy. Once you gave yourself the gift of spending time working on you, all this started to happen way faster.
And I think we're going to build a bigger community. Like this is really just the barrier. Whether
I know
the coaching,
I know you
put
will.
them in proximity. As soon as you get in proximity, that's when you can have the most impact. Because someone's watching a video or something like that. They can kind of walk away. But once we start getting in a relationship, then I know that we can have a bigger and bigger impact. And I really want to see more people win. And I know they can. I know the abundance mindset says there's enough for all of us. And I just want to see as many people win as we can.
Well, and getting around impact players like him becomes contagious. And then you're like, why shouldn't I be an impact player? And by the way, that's what your goal is to build as many more leaders of you as possible. Yeah, to reclone yourself as many times as you can. So make sure you guys go follow him on Instagram. Make sure if you love this, share it with somebody that, needs to hear it. I know everybody out there knows one person that you're like, dude, I need to send this to my buddy. So make sure you get that over to him. And then you guys can DM him on Instagram and start a conversation or figure out what you guys can put together. So I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
I love it, man. You guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you in the next podcast.